In this video, we're going to be talking about why does the lowest price win? This is something that BMS companies are very frustrated with, probably all over the world. You're putting in fees for new construction projects or BMS upgrades or whatever it is, and the lowest price wins. And you're sitting there thinking, why does the lowest price keep winning? You know, we have a good price, not expensive price. We have a very good price. We invest lots of money in having a successful business. We hire specialist people to perform specialist roles. You know, we invest in training our people, our managers and our engineers. So like, you know, why does this lowest price win, which, you know, you might be considering is the wrong price? Why is the wrong price winning? So in this video, I'm going to explain to you why the lowest price wins. And there are two completely different reasons why the lowest price wins in new construction projects and why the lowest price wins in, you know, BMS upgrades. Because obviously in a new construction project, you're quoting to a mechanical contractor, completely different environment. If you're doing upgrade type work, you might be quoting like direct the building owner or the facility manager. There might be a project manager there. There might be a BMS consultant, you know, writing up a specification, maybe not. But there usually isn't a mechanical contractor, and there usually isn't a head contractor or a builder in existing buildings. So two completely different reasons why the lowest price wins. So I'll start with new construction first. And I guess the intent of this video is that, and this is like my own personal experience. This is exactly what I have seen working as a consultant on new construction projects and upgrade projects. So this is my personal experience of what's happened. I'm hoping that in this video, it might give you an idea of why this happens, and you might be able to then go away and think up a better way to approach new construction projects or upgrades now that you might have some insight into why the lowest price wins. Because it wins for good reasons sometimes. So doing new construction first. So this is what I learned when I went into consulting, which is kind of interesting, right? Now, say for example, you have 5 mechanical contractors and they are quoting for, you know, a large, you know, $500 million, you know, new construction project, commercial offices, hospitals, data centers, whatever it is, 5 mechanical contractors, and they're getting pricing from all their subcontractors, like for example, BMS. And let's say there's 5 BMS companies providing pricing to these 5 mechanical contractors. If the mechanical contractor A does not choose the lowest price, they risk losing the job because the other mechanical contractor who they're tendering against, they chose the lowest price. So these 5 prices come back from the BMS companies, and let's say the average price is say $2 million to do this BMS new construction work, but one of the tenderers has a $1 million price. It could be completely the wrong price. The mechanical contractor might be sitting there thinking, ooh, this is the wrong price. It's kind of risky. But if they don't take that price, they risk losing the job because their competitor might take the lowest price. So in my experience, although I've not worked for mechanical contractors before, I've never worked on when they're tendering for work. This is just what I kind of see from my side as a consultant, which I see things differently what you might see as a BMS contractor. So I think what happens sometimes is the mechanical contractor is kind of like forced to take the lowest price to keep them in the game. All right. It'd be disappointing if a mechanical contractor was always choosing the right price for all their subcontractors, and they just keep losing jobs because, you know, mechanical contractor B just takes the lowest price every time. They're just winning all the work. So you've got to factor that into your thought process that mechanical probably isn't like doing the wrong thing. They're not being greedy or just stupid about it. They have no choice. Sometimes they have to choose the lowest price to stay in the running of the project. And it gets worse as you move up the food chain. The builder is in exactly the same situation, the head contractor. They're choosing, you know, 5 prices from mechanical, electrical, fire, hydraulics, lifts, all their pricing is coming through. And if one of those builders or head contractor chooses the lowest price from all the subcontractors, they're going to win the job. So sometimes builders also might be influenced by or pressured to choose the lowest prices to win the job so they can earn revenue, pay their wages, pay their bills, and continue to run and not go bankrupt. So in new construction, just be aware that the lowest price isn't always winning because people are stupid about it. It's because they might be forced to take the lowest price. So what you should do with this is super important. In Australia, what I've noticed, again, I don't work for mechanical contract, but just seeing how things happen. I think that in Australia, the tier one mechanical contractors, the leading companies, they are winning work this way. They get the mechanical consultant specification and they have a look at it. Now, keeping in mind that consultants, we're kind of risk averse. So we kind of like specify a bit more than we might need to cover ourselves. So we're going to get sued if there's a mistake. So these mechanical contractors will look at a mechanical specification and they will, in the tender phase, they will spend a lot of time redesigning the mechanical system. So they'll go and they'll spend like, say they spend like, I don't know, 100 hours, I'm making that up, spend 100 hours and they're recalculating the amount of outside air this building needs with all these air handling units and occupancy levels and number of people and stuff. They recalculate and they think, you know what? We think we can get away with 5 liters per second less outside air coming in through all these air handling units. And they then size smaller chillers and smaller pipes and smaller pumps. And, I've been seeing so many situations where mechanical will value engineer out the specified low load chiller and replace it with a big fat buffer tank and some smart BMS controls to try and stop the chillers cycling on and off in low load conditions. So these tier one mechanicals, the smartest ones that are winning a lot of the work, they're submitting lower prices because they're doing a lot of design work at the beginning of the project to find a better way and take on some risk maybe to submit a lower price. So rather than submitting like a $50 million price, they're putting in like a $45 million price. I don't know. The point I'm making here is in BMS land, we don't do that. What we do is our salespeople will tender and quote just to be 100% compliant to the mechanical specification. Like we just take the specification and all the equipment schedules and the points list if they're there, and we read the control strategies if they're there, and we quote against that. We quote against the specification to be 100% compliant, kind of, you know what I mean? Which doesn't make sense because if you think about it, the mechanical consultant is not a BMS consultant. They're not specialists in BMS. So we can't assume that the mechanical specification on the BMS side of it is really great. It probably isn't. And I'm not criticizing mechanical consultants at all. I'm not criticizing you guys at all. We don't ask like hydraulics engineers to design mechanical systems. We don't ask electrical engineers to design mechanical systems. So it's kind of unfortunate that mechanical consultants get stuck with having to also specify the BMS, which is not an area of their expertise, and they do not spend that much time on it. As this is a generalized, just for conversational purposes here, like a mechanical consultant might work on mechanical design for say 3 months. Like they might only spend like 2 or 3 days on the BMS. Like, 2 weeks before the specification goes out, they spend a day or two on the BMS. It's not their area of expertise. And my actual, slightly off topic here, but in my own personal experience, I don't think that mechanical consultants, if you look at a mechanical consultant's fee proposal, their fee proposal, when they put their fee into the architect or the project managers or the owner for mechanical consulting works, their fee breakup, I don't think that mechanical consultants actually have a line item in their fee proposal called BMS design. The BMS design just kind of like happens in the background. It gets like sucked up with the rest of their design. But mechanical consultants, I don't think, and like, don't quote me on this because I'm kind of sure about this, but it's not a fact. They don't have in there like $30,000 for BMS design. It's just mixed up with the mechanical stuff they're doing, the mechanical tasks. So they're not really quoting for it. So it kind of like doesn't make sense for a BMS contractor to quote against a specification that was not produced by a BMS specialist with lots of time spent doing it. So BMS companies should put in a specification compliant price and offer as per the spec, but we should, on these bigger projects, these important projects, not our salespeople, but our design engineers should be spending 40 hours looking through the mechanical specification and working out better ways to do things, and then offering up an alternative offer for the mechanical contractor's consideration. So mechanical gets the price back from you, $2 million specification compliant, $1.8 million alternative solution. This is how we're going to do it. You can't just cross things off. Some salespeople just cross things off. Like a favorite is, we're just going to control all the VS. We just control by HLI. So we're starting at stopping the chillers by network. We're starting stopping the VSDs, the variable speed drives by network. We're setting the speed signals by network. Like a lot of salespeople just crossing off low level points. That's not going to work. You need a proper hardcore solution around a HLI control type variation. We don't do that very well. Slightly off topic there, but you get the vibe what I'm talking about. So in new construction, just to summarize that before I go on to the next topic, in new construction, sometimes, not always, but sometimes the mechanical contractor is forced to take the lowest price, even if they don't feel comfortable with it. You as a BMS company need to be aware of that this happens, and work something else out to try and provide an alternative solution for them to sort of consider with a lower price. So that's that. The second part of this video, this discussion, is in existing buildings. Now, this second part is actually why I created this video. This is the thing I actually want to talk about. When I was sitting down this morning thinking about it, I was thinking, well, I probably should talk about new construction as well, because lots of people are working in new construction. But the second part is actually why I actually wanted to talk about this. So in existing buildings, when you're tendering for a BMS upgrade, perhaps against 4 other BMS companies, one is probably the incumbent, maybe you are the incumbent, and your price has been reviewed by a project manager or a consultant or a facility manager. So these are 3 people that have no actual reason to choose a lowest price, because like the mechanical contractor can choose a lower price and actually save some money. That's more money in the bank for them, kind of. The project manager gets no money. Like as a consultant, if I choose the lowest price, it's like, say it's $500,000, I don't get $500,000 for that. So project managers, consultants, facility managers have no financial reason to actually choose the lowest price. So why do we choose the lowest price? And here it is. A long build up to this, like 10 minutes to get here. Customers choose, or project manager consultants choose the lowest price. You're not going to like this. Because we as BMS companies, or you as BMS companies, do not give our customers any other metric to measure us by. Now, a lot of you don't like the sound of that, but most BMS companies, and I'm not going to go too deep into this, because if you actually have watched, all the videos on my channel, which nobody would have, I've spoken about so many different types of ways to, be better and, get an advantage over your competitors. Like there's 50, 100 different ideas out there on this channel. So I'm not going to go into that. Go and watch the other videos. There's lots and lots of places where you can differentiate yourself from your competitors, but we're not doing it. Like generally all BMS companies are very similar. Of course, some are better and some are worse, of course. But just like generally, everyone does the exact same thing. We do these upgrades the exact same way. No one really invests a lot of money in training their staff to be like the best project managers, the best design engineers, the best commissioning technicians, service technicians. We're not doing that sort of stuff really. We don't train our staff on like complex topics or advanced topics. Most BMS companies have resource challenges. It's not their fault. There is a resource issue globally with BMS people. Our graphics are kind of similar. Our alarms are equally bad. Our trends are equally bad. Our reports are equally non-existent, as I've discussed in the past. We don't try and tackle problems. We just the same problems happen on every single job, and it's like Groundhog Day. It's the same thing always happens. So this thing here is, if you want customers to stop evaluating you on the lowest price, give them something else to measure you by. Actually, don't just tell them you're better. Does that sound familiar? There are an unlimited amount of ways that you can differentiate from your competitors, because we're all doing the same thing. Like we follow the exact same upgrade strategy we've followed for the last 20, 30 years. We haven't really changed how we do these things. I have lately started with BMS upgrades, and for those of you that are watching that actually are tendering on my project, you know this. I have started focusing a lot on the quality of the work that the BMS company puts out, and doing a lot of analysis during the tender phase around the graphics, for example, like what they look like, you know what I mean? So, and I have recently, like on my projects, the lowest price only ever wins if it was the best offer. So it was like specification compliant, got a strong team, good proposal, good presentation, and a good fee, you win the job. But like just off the top of my head, the last few jobs, the lowest price has not won. The last few jobs I've done, the lowest price has not won. It's very hard to give feedback to BMS contractor. Listen here, sorry you were not successful on this project. It's a $2 million project. You had the lowest price. You still don't win the job. It's kind of hard to give that feedback. It's difficult for me to do that, but I have to do it all the time, right? But if you are offering a much better product and you're actually delivering the product, you're not just saying that you're doing a good, but you're actually delivering a better product, and customers have less problems on your projects, and you have a fucking rock star service department that's going to follow on after the project, they're going to start evaluating that. If I don't know why companies don't focus more on service departments. Service departments are always like a second thought, especially small companies, small startup companies. There's 3 or 4 engineers, there's 1 service tech. It's like the service is always an afterthought. It's not done very well. Obviously, larger companies have whole service departments built around this, but like if you have the best service department in the world, which no one does have, every service department is exactly the same. They're all exactly the same. If you have the best service department in the world, you're going to win fucking work. You're going to win more work. Because I have actually, there have been a few situations that tenderers on my projects have lost tenders that they would have won on their service department. I remember once there was a job and it was the incumbent contracts, and I said, look, you guys had a pretty good price and a good team, but you don't have a good service department. And I don't feel right handing over a product to the customer and they're going to have to hassle with you for 20 years. So, and I remember the salesperson saying to me, Bryce, it's not fair that you're considering our service department in this evaluation. You should just be measuring me on my proposal, the price, my solution, how I presented. And I was actually complained at. You should not be looking at our service department and evaluating our construction capabilities. If you want to win work and you don't want to get if you want to get evaluated on more than just the lowest price, you need to offer them something else. Like have the best service department. It's a flippin' no-brainer. That's it. Let's wrap it up before I'm already dawdling already. This last 5 minutes is not actually on my plan at all. It's making it up. So yeah, look, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, the usual thing, and I'll see you next one.